Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about the oogenesis and follicular development of the human reproductive systems and human reproductions. The major concern here is the correlation between oogenesis and follicle development. Oogenesis is simply the formation of female gamete. Formation of female gamete means formation of egg, that is gametogenesis. But at the same time, follicular development also takes place, because in female ovary, that is in ovary, follicles are undifferentiated part of the oogenesis. Now let us discover these things. The stages of oogenesis are here, whereas the follicle developments are here. And to understand it very clearly, we have a structure of ovary. The TS of ovary is here. Female oogenesis and Graafian follicle development is not so simple like the gametogenesis in the human male as it is the spermatogenesis. In spermatogenesis, actually, the formation of sperm takes place when puberty is onset. But in female, this is an adverse case and a typical different type of case. How it is? Because when a female child inside the mother's uterus grow up to 3 months, means a 3-month-old embryo having ovaries, the formation of egg takes place at that time very. More than 10 lakh mother cells divide by mitosis to form oogonia, and this is the germ layer. This is the germ layer which act as oogonia by repeated mitosis. By repeated mitosis, they form a puffleger, please listen again, a puffleger mass of the cells, which is called puffleger tube or simply egg tube, located here near the germ layer, which eventually converted into a nest-like structure having a group of cells, and each cell of the group have a total potential to convert into the ovum. But instead of converting all of the cell into the ovum, only one of these cells become more mature and become more growth in size and converted into the future egg. And all other cells surrounding that, the growth structures, is now behaving as the supporting nurse cells. And these are the future corona radiator. This structure actually forms at the end of 4th month in the uterus, means when it is a future baby inside the uterus, and it is converted into the growing follicle by the end of 6th month of the baby inside the uterus. So it is a different case. In human male, this is not a case, but in human female, this is the only case. How it can be decided the fate. Now see the same structures in these flow charts, that oogonium before birth, these events takes place before birth. Oogonium by repeated division converted into a primary follicle having 2 n number of chromosomes. It is before birth. Near about 10 lakh primary oocytes are formed before birth in each of the ovary. At follicular level, this is the cell, but this is the follicle. Follicle means with mature cell having so many other cells which provide them safety and nourishment. Okay, so this is the follicle, and these are called primordial follicles. Primordial follicles. Now they are arrested in meiosis 1. Meiosis 1 simply at prophase 1. at prophase 1, late prophase 1, they are arrested. So all the 10 lakh, near about 10 lakh primary oocytes are arrested in meiosis 1, and in childhood, means right from the birth, after the 9 months of incubation periods, they are going to be parturated, and from their birth up to the onset of puberty, that is 8 to 9 years, this is called the inactive stage of ovary. But this is not so. Actually, at that time, follicles remaining the same. There is no change or increasements in the number of the follicle. Instead of that, it is regretting their number. And when puberty is set, then primary follicles become more and more mature and meiosis takes place. At this time, only 60 to 80,000 of follicles and eggs remains in each of the ovary, and this is the final number, 60 to 80,000 primary follicles, or you can say future eggs in each of the ovary. So this event takes place when menstrual cycle begins for the first time in the history of human female, and this is called menarche. This is called menarche. When menarche takes place at the puberty, the further growth takes place. Further growth means in respect of egg, here meiosis going to be completed, meiosis first going to be completed, meiosis first is going to be completed, which is an unequal type of division which causes a small cell and a larger cell. Small cell is known as polar body, which eventually dies. It eventually dies, whereas the second larger one is called secondary oocyte, having half number of the chromosome as it compared to its mother cell. Now in the ovary, how it changes from the growing follicle, now they move up to maturing sections. Now this is the growing follicle. At the onset of puberty and at the initials of the menstrual cycle, each menstrual cycle of 28 days, each menstrual cycle, now it converts into a near to mature cycle, near to mature Graafian follicle having a cavity called antrum. Antrum is filled with some special fluid and estrogens hormones which can facilitate the ovulation. And this one is the mature Graafian follicle having completely mature egg with zona pellucida layers and corona radiata cells. At the mid of the cycle, that is 14th day, ovulation takes place. Ovulation is the phenomena by which egg is pulled out of the ovary at the middle of the menstrual cycle, and this is called ovulation. This is called ovulation. In ovulation, a mature egg with some of the cuboidal cells, they are ejected out. Now rest of the cells, like this portion, if it is ejected out, the rest of the cell of this Graafian follicle is converted into an endocrine gland which is called corpus luteum, which secretes progesterone. Progesterone is the pregnancy hormone which maintains the wall of endometrium. Okay, if fertilization takes place, like this is the sperm, this is the sperm. Now secondary oocyte now divide. If meiosis 2 only completes when it met with the sperm at the right time. Otherwise, this is going to be destroyed. Come, please listen again. Meiosis 1 completes when cycle begins and it forms secondary oocyte. Secondary oocytes again divide by meiosis 2, because meiosis have two stages, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. But they are arrested at metaphase stage of meiosis 2 and waiting for the sperm to fertilize this. When sperm fertilizes in the fallopian tube of human reproductive system, then further meiosis II takes place. If it not reaches, then egg is going to be unfertilized in their nature, and unfertilized eggs cause a signaling to the ovary to degrade the corpus luteum. As a degradation of corpus luteum, the level of progesterone slowly, or you can say hastily, slow down, which causes the deformation of endometrial wall and lysis of the tissue and blood cells, and the start of next cycle, what we call it menstrual bleeding. Bleeding starts again after the 28 or 29 days. But if fertilization takes place, then only meiosis II is going to be completed and metaphase II proceeds into the next anaphase and telophase. As a result of which, another smaller cell is formed, which is called second polar body, and the fertilized egg having female and male, both of the chromosomes, which are completed, and now they are termed as zygote. Zygote again divide and divide to form a new baby, which is parturited after 9 months. And at follicular level, this primary follicle having an egg cell and some of the cells which surround the egg cell to provide nutrition and protection. These outer cells are divided again and again and form a larger space and cavity called antrum. It is like this. This is the mature follicle equivalent to the secondary oocyte. After ovulation, if it fertilized by the egg after ovulation, this remaining portion of the Crepin follicle converts into the corpus luteum, whereas egg is fertilized to form zygote. So this is oogenesis, follicular development, and this is the cycle inside the ovary of a human female. So this is a peculiar correlation between the oogenesis and follicular development. Have a look on the chart and a quick review. Oogonium is converted into primary oocyte. It is before birth in the child, and at the same time it is equivalent to the primordial follicles. During childhood, ovary remain inactive, but the number of follicles decreases, and finally they are converted up to 60 to 80,000 per ovary. After birth, when puberty going to be onset, that is menarche takes place. At this stage, meiosis is triggered. Here it is checked at meiosis 1, that is prophase 1. It is checked at prophase 1. But prophase 1 is triggered to follow the next steps of division, that is, and it is converted into primary oocyte. Meiosis 1 takes place, which is unequal type of division, and it gives rise first polar body and secondary oocyte. Again the meiosis 2 takes place but it is not completed up to fertilization. When it is fertilized, the meiosis 2 is going to be completed and it forms zygote and another polar body. So this is the oogenesis, and this is the development of follicle with respect to the egg. Okay, so I think it helps you a lot. Thank you very much.